Hello and welcome to the Animation Kimmunication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode is appropriate for all ages.
Hi everyone, welcome to the episode that no one's gonna watch, hopefully. I don't know how interested people are in like other cultures and stuff, so it's an experiment.
Our audience is diverse, so there's going to be people that do, as if people couldn't tell by the subject of this episode, we're going to be talking about Hanukkah. But I'm sure there are plenty of people in our audience, both who are Jewish and who are not Jewish, and would like to know more about it. So what's wrong with sharing a little bit of that?
Yeah, I'm just pessimistic. Shout out to all my Jews out there. Okay, before we go into specifics, so I'm going to badly tell the story of Hanukkah and answer some of Lauren's what's the word? I can't think of it now, but anyway,
basically I'll let you elaborate and I will ooh and ah at the details and probably poke some questions in here and there, but as I am the student today, the master is KP.
Yeah, the master is loose. So in the middle of that, you'll learn about my religious education and things that I don't really talk about that much at all anywhere. So yay, this is the get to know KP episode, kind of sort of like a part of my life. So before we go into origins of stuff and things, what do we have any news, Lauren?
Yes, we have a couple headlines, and one of them is holiday related. So I will probably end with that one. The first one is Croods 2 just came out, and actually in some areas it did come out in theaters. So for everybody that is not in Los Angeles right now, if you're able to go to a theater and support the movie, which a lot of super talented people worked on, and if you also like the first Croods, then definitely go see it. Otherwise, I believe it is streaming as well. So if you can't go to a theater, stream it. But yeah, so and that's the Croods is DreamWorks. I'd like to specify for those who didn't know. But yeah, a team of extremely talented people worked very, very hard, as a lot of animated films are. But this one in particular, especially when you have designs from Chris Sanders' kind of artistic style, that there's a lot of that really fun, colorful variety of shapes. And yeah, anyway, so definitely go support the film. I've yet to watch it myself, but I'm getting around to that pretty soon. So but yeah, and then as for our holiday headline, HBO Max just announced that on December 3rd they will be releasing a Looney Tunes holiday special. They have dubbed it the 24 Karat Holiday Special. So, and this is working with the Looney Tunes cartoons, the brand new ones that they debuted with the streaming service back in May of this year. So,
yay.
Yeah.
They're doing the things. So, I'm really surprised that they're streaming Animaniacs through Hulu instead of HBO Max, because I would have figured because it's a Warner Brothers property.
I think it's because there was already a contractual agreement to put it onto Hulu like ages ago. And even then, the original Animaniacs episodes are also on there. So I think it was just easier for people to keep it in one spot, at least for now. And yeah, we'll see what happens going forward if they end up transitioning over to that. But for the sake of it all to make sense, especially as they wrote it in as their jokes, as part of their jokes, is the whole Hulu basically hosting the show.
Yeah, which is owned by Disney, so that's why I'm confused.
Well, yeah, I would say I can't say that they own it, but they have a large part of it. It's some kind of thing where they kind of own a lot of it, but they aren't the sole owners. But yeah.
All right.
So
conglomerates
we'll
are confusing.
But yeah, well, basically, as far as I can tell, Animaniacs is staying there. So.
Okay, and then remind me, how was the original Croods received? Because I think people were just like, "Oh no, it's a Nick Cage movie about some like nomads." Like that's all I remember.
I was gonna say, well, it's a movie about cavemen and just them having to a family of cavemen basically having to explore a whole new world after having to live in a very, very sheltered life because they're, constantly afraid of everything and having to defend themselves, that they basically hole themselves up in a cave to stay safe. And so it's basically them learning to explore outside their boundaries and allowing the family to grow and learn as they venture into a whole new world. And if I remember, it was received all right when it first came out. It did, of course, get the meme treatment later on, but I feel like a lot of people rather enjoyed it. But I think there's some people that are more hopeful, or at least I haven't seen too many reviews coming out of this one yet. But
Okay.
I know more people are hopeful for the sequel. So we'll see.
Okay, because I don't really like. I think
there wasn't any mass hate or anything on the first one.
No, I don't remember anything either way. All I just remember is the caveman movie with Nick Cage. So I was just wondering if it was popular enough to warrant a sequel. Like I guess it is, but
it gained some kind of traction that it did, and yet we still don't get Rise of the Guardians 2. Come on, people.
Give it time. Go stream it on HBO Max because like they have the DreamWorks library, right?
No. That's Peacock. Peacock has it.
This is so confusing.
HBO Max is Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers does not have DreamWorks. So Universal is Peacock, and so Universal has DreamWorks under their umbrella. So you go watch it there.
Okay, yeah, I gotta remember because I sort them by theme parks, so like in my head. So
just because Harry Potter is at Universal does not make him a Universal property. Sorry, people. If anybody that was really confused, they just happen to have the real estate and the creative drive and finance that they were like, hey, we want to bring this licensed property over to this park, and they basically made the best decision ever by doing that.
Yeah, it's outdated. That my mindset is kind of outdated too because like The Simpsons is still in Universal, and Universal definitely doesn't own The Simpsons anymore, or under Fox. So
yeah, so who knows what's gonna happen with that? But for now, it stays. I guess it's just like with Warner Brothers being able to keep Harry Potter inside a Universal park. The license may still extend to Simpsons being able to stay at Universal, but I don't know.
Yeah, I imagine it will. Like, it's gonna cost too much money infrastructurally words to rebrand.
Plus, putting Simpsons into a Disney park doesn't exactly make the most sense.
Yeah. So, when will it stop? Nobody knows. So, I would like to see like a Harry Potter like roller coaster at like Six Flags or something. One of the many Six Flags. That'd be cool. Warner Brothers, but
you get it at Universal for now.
Yeah, well, they have the Hagrid ride at the Florida one, but not the Universal one yet. Not the one in Hollywood
Hagrid's
yet.
motorbike ride,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I don't know. I'm just rambling. Okay. Anyway, so those are the only two headlines right now. It's kind of slowing down a little bit because holidays and match with coronavirus because like coronavirus is slowing down the industry already anyway. So I think the biggest thing that's happening until the end of the year is Soul on Disney Plus, and the things we already talked about. So we'll come back after the holiday and talk about Soul, but not now. We're gonna talk about Hanukkah right now. So anyway, I'll start off with this Lauren, what do you know about Hanukkah? Because I know you did a little bit of research before the podcast, but like,
Well, as far as I remember, it had to. I remember the Maccabees. I remember them being kind of the revolutionaries that fought against the oppressors. Wasn't it like they. It was an empire that tried to take them over, correct? And they basically were fighting against this empire, and their temple was destroyed, and so they rededicated the temple. Once it was destroyed, they basically tried to reinstill hope in the people by lighting. Wasn't it? They had the lantern or candle.
yeah,
You're
doing a good job.
Okay, and so basically they only had about a night's worth of oil to burn the light, and it ended up burning for 8 days.
Yeah, that's essentially the gist. So I'll start off by saying that I'm pretty secular as far as my religious beliefs. Like, I don't know, like a lot of like, we've talked about this a little bit at the religion and fandom one, but a lot of my inspiration and passion and like just general like the things I look for or people look for generally in a religion comes from like my passion for animation art in general. So I think like correlation wise, I think, it's about, having relatable people that people can turn to and see that they're human even though they end up doing great things. So technically my favorite biblical story is the Moses story, but we can talk about that later for Passover, and we can do Prince of Egypt and all that stuff. But anyway, do you know what Passover is, Lauren?
Yes, yes, I do. Because
okay.
that does correlate to the Moses story. But
yeah.
I do know about that.
Well, we'll talk about that one later. But anyway, there's a lot of Jewish holidays in general. I guess Passover is probably the most, like the second most known one. Hanukkah being the first, and then we got like the Jewish New Year, and then there's one before that.
Rosh Hashanah?
Yeah, well, Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. So Yom Kippur, I think, is the one where
Yom Kippur,
you fast.
That's right.
So, and God takes away your sins or something like that. And then there's some minor ones, like there's a tree holiday where you got a lemon and a leaf, and you like build a little hut called a sukkah, and then you go in, and it's supposed to be like a harvesty time thing. I don't know. I like that one's probably on the chill side as far as important Jewish holidays. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are the most important ones, technically, and those are the ones you get to miss school for, like if you're Jewish, and they usually coincide between like a week or two apart. And yeah, and then there's like, this isn't really a holiday, this is just important. There's obviously Holocaust Remembrance Day, which is important, but it's no spoiler warning, it's kind of a bummer. So and you don't do anything specific for that. That's just kind of like a remember the Holocaust kind of thing. So Holocaust is bad. To put it very minorly, and it actually did happen. If you're a Holocaust denier, you can there's the door, get out right now. Like, I'm not dealing with that.
That's why I don't understand why people don't. Like, there's people, I understand if people haven't like learned about it, but if people deny it, that I don't get.
I think it's just like people can't imagine that other people in the 20th century, like in recent history, could be so horrible and like demeaning towards each other, and so it's just easier to deny it. Because you get into a lot of social, economical, like, and then philosophical problems about like, how did they rationalize it? Like, were they just following orders? Like, there's a lot there. And it's messy and sad. And this is probably not the episode for the Holocaust, but anyway, there's plenty of resources for that if that's something you're interested in learning about. I guess you can start with Schindler's List, even though that was a very minority part of the Holocaust, but it's kind of like wrapping the horribleness in like a little beacon of hope, and then, you know, with Liam Neeson, and sometimes it makes it better. But anyway, back to Hanukkah, so that one's not as dark. So anyway, so
well, I mean, it is the Festival of Lights.
Okay. This is the humor of the episode. So Hanukkah is actually a pretty minor holiday, all things considered, but because it's tied so close to Christmas, sometimes it's like competing. If like it's the one people highlight the most because they have their big Christmas holiday. And Christmas is probably like the biggest Christian holiday, right? Is that fair? That's a given, right?
That's pretty much a given.
Okay. So then we're going to be like, what about the Jews? What do they do? It's like, well, they have Hanukkah. And then Kwanzaa is more of a cultural thing, so it's not really a religious thing. But anyway, so from my understanding, they don't make as big of a deal about it in Israel, which makes sense. But the story of Hanukkah is basically what Lauren already described. So basically, to backtrack a little bit, so, backtrack a little bit more. So essentially, the Jews started to gain more numbers, and then they eventually, there's the whole Joseph story where they, like, summary of the Old Testament or the Torah, like there's the Joseph story where they sell him as a slave, like his brothers sell him as a slave. Spoiler warning, I guess, if you haven't read the Bible, I don't know.
Or if you watch Joseph, King of Dreams.
Yeah, direct to video, top 10. So you get that, and that's how the Jews end up in Egypt, because after Joseph gains power, then he forgives them, after they tell them how bad they were. And then they start living in Egypt, and then eventually, like several generations later, where people forgot that link, or that wasn't as discussed, the pharaoh, which it's debated which pharaoh, like Prince of Egypt uses Ramesses, which is fine, but I don't know if there's like they've matched history with biblical studies and figured out like distinctly which pharaoh. But anyway, it's a moot point. So then Exodus happens, essentially, where we'll save the Passover story for next time. But anyway, the Jews escape Egypt, and then they're in the desert, and then they eventually go to Israel, and then King David builds a temple. And it's really important, and right now there's only one part of it left, and it's called the Western Wall, and people pray at it, and they put little notes, little prayers in the Western Wall. That's like a tradition, and then that at night they take them and they burn them. And so anyway, little known fact. So when I was in religious school, one of my teachers or something was going to the Western Wall, and they were just like, "Who wants to put a prayer?" And I put that Kim Possible should have a fourth season, and it happened. Yay! God listened to me. Anyway, because that was the most important thing when I was like 13. But you know, it all worked out. So But yeah, so before that, we have David and Solomon, and then eventually the Greeks are the ones who entered Jerusalem, and they were just like, "We don't like these Jews. We want them to worship Greek gods and stuff." And the Jews are like, "No." And then they were like, "Well, we're gonna do stuff anyway." So I don't think they just outright kill Jews. I think they're punished for practice. If they are found practicing any kind of Judaism, because they're supposed to convert to whatever the Greek religion is with all the gods, not like well, kind of like the Hercules movie, but not really like a real religion. So they wanted to put up.
And I was trying to think, it was like, I didn't want to get it wrong on the first guess, but it's funny because when I was saying it was an empire, I'm like, it was the Greeks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, maybe I can't remember. I'm really remembering it right, but okay, so I did.
For those of you who are history buffs, here, I'll say that line better. My notes say it was in 168 BCE. So this is before Jesus, if you're paying attention.
It's BC.
BC. It's BCE. They changed it for us, for just the general population. So it's before Common Era instead of before Christ. So
interesting.
Makes sense. Anyway, so I'm not gonna pronounce this name because I'm gonna get it wrong, but I think it's King Antiochus the Fourth. And so in Jewish history, like back before this happened, so this is I think this is in like after the Old Testament, but never mind, I don't know. Okay, I don't remember where it's from. But anyway, the Jews sacrificed animals and then they stopped. But then the Greeks were like, let's sacrifice some more animals. So they sacrificed pigs in the temple and everyone's mad. And then we got the band of rebels called the Maccabees. Yay. And basically they fight, like, it's pretty, like, straightforward. They fight off the Greeks. And they take back Jerusalem. So, and then they, as far as the menorah, so just generally in synagogues, there's supposed to be a light that never goes out, like, you know, so, like I think it's the eternal light. Anyway.
Yeah, an eternal flame.
Eternal flame, yeah, something like that.
Which is it's not just a Bengal song, guys. It's kind of like...
It's kind of a big deal. So, in modern times, they use electricity for the eternal light, so that way it never goes out. It's supposed to symbolize that God's always there, even though you don't think he's there or whatever. So, fancy. So, before, obviously, they had electricity, they would use regular menorahs. So, the Hanukkah, which is the menorah that is for Hanukkah, has 9 sticks, and then the regular menorah has 7, one for every day. But you're not allowed to take regular menorah out of the synagogue, so that's why we get the Hanukkahs. But anyway, so they go to the so I guess obviously they turned off the menorah figuratively, and they, you know how they used to light candles is they put the wax, like, float on the oil and then they light it. That's how they did it back in the day. So, same thing. They thought they'd only have enough oil for one night, and then they had enough oil for 8 nights, so they could get new oil, and they could restart the whole don't turn off the light thing. And then that's the miracle of Hanukkah, essentially. So, that was my very bad explanation of it, but hopefully it was kind of funny. Any questions so far, Lauren?
No questions, but I do remember from my little bit of research I was able to do, that the holiday has become a time of, like, because they rededicate the temple, it becomes a time of rededicating yourself to goals and ambitions for the year to come. Is that correct? I want to make sure that's correct.
That's more for Rosh Hashanah, because, like, the whole idea is, for Yom Kippur, you fast for your sins, and then Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. So I imagine it might be a time for people, like, I'm not the expert, but it might be like maybe they renew themselves that time, or it's a cleansing time, I guess, for people. But technically, Rosh Hashanah is the thing. And I should also mention that the Jewish calendar is on the lunar cycle, not the other one that we have now, the regular
Right.
one. So Hanukkah itself falls on different days in December. Sometimes it overlaps Christmas. It's early this year.
It'll be even earlier next year, based off of what I saw of the calendar. It's going to be even earlier, and then it jumps super far in 2022. So there's that.
That's why we're doing this episode first before all the Christmas stuff. So I think it's like starts on the 8th this year or something like that. So I will. Can you check for that for me, Lauren? Will I keep on talking?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Good question. Let me double check that. So you keep going.
Okay. Drink break. So anyway, as a wise man named Adam Sandler once pointed out, there's not really much to do for Hanukkah, and
It starts on the 10th this year. There's
okay.
the evening of the 10th, and
Yeah.
it goes to Friday the 18th.
all the Jewish holidays start at sundown. It's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so anyway, there's not really a lot of Hanukkah media, like, generally, because the Jews are in such a minority to the general population. And I personally like Christmas better. I think I will say I feel like Christmas at this point is kind of like a non-religious holiday, and you feel like crap if you can't celebrate it. And everyone's like Santa, and like we don't get Santa. We get like sometimes they call him Captain Hanukkah or something, but we distinctly don't get Santa. So all the kind of like youthful magic or whatever is kind of lost, and especially if you grow up like I did in an area where there's not a lot of Jewish people, it can be super isolating and depressing. So I think. Go ahead.
As far as I remember, I mean, we're going to set aside the obvious example that everybody thinks of as 8 Crazy Nights, but we're going to also consider that Rugrats even had a special about it. And I mean, that was, if I remember, like from way, way back when I was a little kid, that was one of the first instances where I ever learned about Hanukkah, or at least the story of it.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of other Hanukkah specific media, yeah, it's hard. I can't believe how little there is. There honestly needs to be more, especially after all this time.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I thought the Jews ran Hollywood. I guess not. But yeah, there's
Well, I mean, that was one of the huge motivators, if I remember, was that when DreamWorks came out and they were going to come out swinging with the Prince of Egypt. Except they tried to push ants out first to try and just be a middle finger to Pixar with Bug's Life,
Yeah.
But otherwise, their first film is Prince of Egypt, and they wanted it to be like, I mean, that is truly like that's the studio's magnum opus. I don't think they could ever top Prince of Egypt.
I agree,
because it is a genuine, serious story and a genuine retelling of the story, where I think it's even better than the original 10 Commandments film in terms of it has a more compelling story, and how it shows the real human struggles of not only the Hebrews but of also like the brothers.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's gorgeous, and the music's freaking amazing, and the visuals are stunning. I don't know. I could gush on and on about Prince of Egypt.
Like
It's
I
one
said,
of my
we'll save that
all-time
for the
favorites.
Passover episode. So Passover's
Gotta
usually
wait a
in
little bit.
April. So, but yeah, so Prince of Egypt is great, and you should watch it if you haven't seen it. You don't have to wait for Passover; it's relevant. But like, we just did the video about not Pixar. We just did a video about DreamWorks, and one of my big points is that Prince of Egypt is great, and it's still great, and DreamWorks doesn't do anything about it. Like, they don't have any new merch. And that's essentially like a huge hit, like Aladdin or something, just never being mentioned in the parks. And I'm just like, you're sitting on it. What are you doing? You sit. I want Moses merch. I want Prince of Egypt merch. I will buy all of it. So like, I had to same thing with Treasure Planet. Like, I had to go on Redbubble and find this. Like, I found something neat, but it's the scene of when Moses approaches Ramesses after his son dies. Spoilers, but again, it's Bible Bible episode, Bible
if
Old
you,
Testament.
if you know the Bible story, if you know the Bible story, you know it doesn't end well for the firstborns of Egypt.
Yeah, generally, But anyway, it's the scene of Moses approaching Ramesses after his son dies, and that's one of the the very minimalistic, the lighting is the thing that's playing the scene, but it's it's the scene is in a headshot of Moses, and the logo says Prince of Egypt. That's my Prince of Egypt shirt, but I had to buy that on Redbubble because they don't make any Prince of Egypt stuff anymore.
You gotta leave it to the indie creators to make the best merch.
Disney's getting a little bit better. I'm starting, so we talked about last time, not last time, we talked about on the Breaking Into the Industry episode how there's one Treasure Planet thing, and I've also seen a one Atlantis shirt at Hot Topic now. So we're getting there. They're running out of things, so we have to do
those movies are hitting their 20-year marks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start getting the 20th anniversary stuff, which is when it will really start pumping out more of that stuff, because nostalgia sells, especially for the millennial generation that grew up with those movies. It's just like Emperor's New Groove. It gained a whole lot more traction in later years because of the generation that grew up with it. So
I feel
20 years later,
Emperor's New Groove was treated better from the get-go because we had the series and stuff like that.
Ironic considering considering the development hell that it went through.
But yeah, we had for those who are playing at home, we had one Atlantis special sequel, but it was actually a series where I guess Atlantis made money but not enough money to warrant a series. Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was, and plus they had all these plans for theme park integration. They were originally going to turn the submarine ride at Disneyland into an Atlantis submarine ride, and that quickly got shut down because the movie was nowhere near as successful as Disney was hoping. And it basically they were working, if I remember, they had the pilots going. So basically the Atlantis 2 Electric Boogaloo that we got was just 3 episodes that served as the pilot. That was the early 2000s in a nutshell. There was a lot of stuff that was in the 90s and the 2000s. There was a number of quote sequels that were actually just a compilation of stories that were slated to be part of a pilot episode, or the first few episodes of a series that would be dedicated to that franchise. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened with Atlantis. But it unfortunately never made it past that quote sequel that was just 3 stories that were supposed to be for the series. But anyway.
Follow-up question. I don't remember. Was Michael J. Fox in the sequel, or did they get a sound-alike?
I think they got a sound-alike.
Okay.
I think they probably got 1 or maybe 2 people originally back for the sequel, but I'd have to, I'm going to confirm that right now.
Okay.
Of what I remember, they got sound-alikes. So. Okay.
I know they got Cree Summers as Kira. She's a mainstream voice actor, so that's a done deal. But I was wondering,
I had a feeling, in my mind, I'm thinking it's either Cam Clark or James Arnold Taylor. Yeah, it was James Arnold Taylor who played Milo.
Okay,
in the sequel. So.
Okay, yeah, that fits. Anyway, James Arnold Taylor does a lot of voice sound-alike stuff. He's Obi-Wan in all the animated stuff, essentially.
So they pretty much got a lot of people back, just not Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, I figured. Michael J. Fox has Parkinson's or something, so it's hard for him to do things, so I don't blame him.
Yeah, I guess according to recent headlines, it's getting to a point where he's not going to be able to work at all anymore, not even on smaller projects. His case has gotten worse, so hopefully he sticks out and he still stays okay, and just poor guy though.
Is Parkinson's Alzheimer's, where you kind of lose your memory, or is it just you lose your mobility functions?
It's more of a physical thing than a mental thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, that sucks. Sorry, Michael Fox. We love you in Back to the Future.
I love him in everything, no matter what the project is.
But that's kind of the bummer. We'll probably end up talking about it in the future on the channel, but that's kind of the bummer of coronavirus, is as much as everyone is complaining about the shutdown of Hollywood and just generally the remakes that are coming out of Disney, like, guys, like, eventually they're gonna run out of the movies that everyone likes, and they're gonna have to do the movies that are like risks, essentially, because it's easy to, at least it's something compared to doing something new. So and Atlantis is a much better sell right now than Treasure Planet as far as live action, because it's more actiony and it's more like Indiana Jonesy than Treasure Planet, which I think will be adapted well to live action if we get there. We'll see. So
yeah. So anyway, this was
back to Hanukkah. Okay. Anyway, so if you're willing to expand your Hanukkah, or you want to learn more about Hanukkah and media, so I was just curious to see what happened if I looked in YouTube. So I've been aware of the Rugrats special. We had the VHS, the Maca Babies, which is great. And they also, Rugrats also has a Passover episode too. Obviously Prince of Egypt is better, but it's still, Tommy's mom is half Jewish, so they do a little bit of both. Anyway, but there's like a Friends episode of Hanukkah, and there's just like some like live action shows where one character is Jewish and they acknowledge Hanukkah like a little bit, but that's really about it. And then Eight Crazy Nights in general is messy, very messy. If you can get past,
it's a very messy movie that has way too good animation.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for animators that worked on that, because they got the animation looks too good for the content they were given.
And this is why Adam Sandler shouldn't be executive producer of anything animated. And he's usually better when he's doing like things other people wrote for him.
Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention. Yeah, like Hotel Transylvania is very cute, and you gotta love the Jendi Tartakovsky action lines in those characters. It's beautiful. It's there you go, for no other reason except like it's fun to look at. But anyway, so trying to think of anything else Adam Sandler has done that's like, there was like one movie where he was like a hairdresser, like a Jewish hairdresser or something, but like a spy. Anyway, Adam Sandler, like, read things other people wrote for you. You're not as funny as you think. There's my hot take. But anyway, Eight Crazy Nights is I think we need like a version where they cut down all the gross stuff. Like it's bad. Like they have deer. Like, I'm trying to keep this episode clean so you can learn about Hanukkah, but there's gross out humor, and like the character that Adam Sandler plays is like looks like him, but he's a jerk, and it's about like him. Well, I won't spoil it.
Kind of like a Grinch. He's like
he's
Grinch
like a Hanukkah
that learns
Grinch.
The true meaning of Hanukkah / Christmas.
Like
Christmas.
Like same thing with Click. Same thing with Click. Like the meat of the story is great and it's beautiful, but like when you put the outer layers, the Adam Sandler layers around it, just like man, like you could have done something that was like notable, but you had to have like crapping deer and like bad jokes and like stop
not
making
only
decisions.
Deer, but deer eating crap. Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. I have to. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to call that scene out because I can't believe you had to have animators make these beautiful Disney-looking frickin' deer, and they're licking frickin' frozen porta potty water. Just like, that's just no.
So if anyone out there wants to make an 8 Crazy Nights version, but they just edit out the bad stuff and like put it on YouTube or something, we'd really appreciate it. Just the general animation community.
Because you know what? I will admit the the actual heartfelt moments like that actually try to be serious are the moments where I'm like, oh, yeah, I actually kind of feel bad, and I like, but that's a good thing that I'm feeling bad because it means it's touched something, you know. It's then it goes right back to a fart joke, and I'm like, oh.
Then we learned Adam Sandler had a heart after all. This movie had a heart to it after all. Woo. So, yeah, you can tag me on Twitter if you like. I'm serious. If someone ends up like making the easiest edit ever and just cutting some bad stuff out, but still making it like the movie makes sense. Because I'm pretty sure you could still make sense. But
I do gotta wonder though, because I guess he does try to weave it into other movies, other ones of his movies as well. But this one in particular, I don't want to have to mention it, but because part of the story takes place at Hanukkah, or revolves around having to have family over at Hanukkah, does that make Jack and Jill another Hanukkah movie?
I never saw Jack and Jill. Like,
good.
It's stupid.
The only good part about it is the Dunkachino scene, and I'm not. And it's what honestly, what probably was originally the cringiest part of the movie. It was actually not even cringy. It's genuinely like the one time where it's like actually funny, and it looks like Al Pacino is actually kind of enjoying being goofy.
Dear Hollywood, please stop giving Adam Sandler money to do stupid movies. Thanks, the internet.
You could have said that before he already made like a really bad Halloween movie and released it this year. And I guess that's the movie he said he would make after he said if he didn't, I guess if he didn't win the nomination / win at the Oscars for Uncut Gems, then he said he vowed he would make the worst movie ever made. And I'm assuming that's what it
like
was.
Half of his movies. Like this, welcome to the Hanukkah episode where we just make fun of Adam Sandler half the time. I mean, sometimes he'll be funny. He guest starred in Saturday Night Live like a season ago, and I liked all his sketches, which was rare, but you know, Happy Madison's good. But anyway,
yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm like. Early Adam Sandler's fine because I mean that's when he was a little baby, and he was just like, and he had a style all his own that nobody had done yet, and he was out there doing it, and so, but yeah.
But then Hollywood gave him too much money. Anyway. So Hanukkah traditions. So, well, to back up, like, we'll close that segment. So there's not a lot of Hanukkah media. I was curious what there was on YouTube, and I found, like, they did... So Judah the Maccabee was the name of the guy who was the head of the Maccabees, obviously. They did one of those, like, historical, like, history episodes with Judah the Maccabee. Like, they did in, like, an Abraham Lincoln episode, and they did, like, a Marie Curie episode, and then they did Judah the Maccabee, which I think is kind of silly. And I watched it, and the Hanukkah story is relatively short, if you sum it up. Like, bad guys, rebels, they kick the bad guys out, and then the Menorah stuff. So they had to have this whole, like, keep in mind this was like a half an hour. So they had to have this whole subplot of, like, another Maccabee who, like, turned Greek, but then he turned back because he realized he was a Jew all along, and stupid. But anyway, that's what I found besides, like, the whole, like, really badly edited and in basic editing biblical stories and stuff that I didn't want to bother with that. So anyway, so back to Hanukkah stuff. So obviously there's the dreidel. Do you know what a dreidel is, Lauren?
Yes, I do know the dreidel, but I guess I don't really know the origin of it. I don't know if you know.
I don't know the origin. I just know, like, the game and what the letters mean and stuff like that. Yeah,
go into that, because I mean I know what a dreidel is, but I don't.
Okay, I don't know the origin of the dreidel. Well, maybe you can Google that as I'm talking. But anyway, but the dreidel is basically a top with 4 sides on it, and and then it, like, has a spinny part at the end, so you spin it. And essentially, it's a really easy game. It's kind of monotonous game, but there's 4 Hebrew letters on the dreidel. There's top of my head, Gimel, Nun, Shin, and there's another one. Hey, there we go. There's all of them. So the most side note, the most useless skill that you will ever have is learning how to read Hebrew. I never after your bat mitzvah, it's you never have to read Hebrew ever again. It's so anyway. Bad Hebrew school memories. Anyway, so Gimel is. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the apparently it says the letters Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin appear on the dreidel, and they stand for
I know what they
phrase
stand
that means
for.
a great miracle. A great miracle happened there. But in terms of people trying to say the correlation between the dreidel and the Hanukkah, so it's just
okay, so we don't really know the origin. Okay, it's a mystery. Anyway, so basically you start off with a pot. Usually people do candy or they do shekels, which is it's not really actual money. It's a chocolate coin. So usually that's why around Christmas time you see chocolate coins with the tinfoil wrapping. Words are hard. It's late. So yeah, and usually sometimes they try to mimic American currency. Sometimes they put different IPs on it. It all depends. It doesn't really matter. But you so you buy candy and you'll put it in the middle of the pot, and depending on what letter you get, you either take all of the pot or you take half the pot. So Gimel is all, Nun is none, Shin is half, and then Hey is put one of yours back. And there's no clear ending to this game, by the way. You just kind of go until you feel like you want to stop. So. And then it's the only really Hanukkah song besides the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song is the Dreidel Song, which I'm not going to sing for you, but you can look it up. It's catchy. And when I was in religious school, when I was little, before they got serious stuff, you get to make dreidels, and one of my we still use. At Passover, we still use one of my Passover plates that I made when I was in preschool or something. It looks bad, but it's fine. I think I tried to mix all the colors together, and it's turned out the gross brown that happens when you mix all the colors together. And my mom's like, "It's perfect," and I'm like, "Okay, if you say so." But anyway,
I think I only know probably. I don't know how long the song is, but I know at least 4 lines of the dreidel song.
Yeah.
I have a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh, dreidel, 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 the dreidel I shall play. That's as much as I know.
Yeah, that's mostly it. There you go, Lauren sang the song for you. I think there's some other verses about Hanukkah just generally, but that's the dreidel song.
You know what? Now that I think about it. Because I just remember, I don't know, maybe it was just singing it triggered it. South Park, hello, Kyle's family.
Yeah, South Park does a good job because
how amazing that it took me this long to go. Oh shoot, yeah.
Yeah, because the Dreidel Song is a backing lyric in the in one of the Christmas songs. So from the Christmas episode, I think South Park in general is I think that's a whole other episode as far as just discussing how South Park probably needs to end at this point too, because you can just tell that the creators are just tired of doing it after 5 years or something like that, and people don't really pay attention to it as much anymore. And I don't know, it hurts my soul to see that no one cares about South Park anymore, because I used to love South Park.
Well,
anyway,
there's still definitely a fan base for it, and there's people still following it. But I do agree that not as many people are following the major, whenever they have a major special. It seems like there aren't as many people talking about it. Or maybe that's just this year. Maybe everyone's so jaded.
Well, it's also because Trey and Matt keep on negotiating their contracts, less and less episodes they have to do. So people kind of get in the habit of stop watching it and coming back to it. Or, they don't have a season long where they're consistently, tuning in to watch it. And, because they don't know when it's coming back and stuff, I think that's not helping.
Yeah. Anyway.
South Park is good too, obviously, if you can handle the gross out humor in Cartman just generally. But yeah, they like one of the, if you don't know South Park, one of the main characters, Kyle, is Jewish, and then he's got a stereotypical mom, and anyway. So, and then the other notable thing is latkes, which are potato pancakes essentially. So think of like a messy hash brown, and those are good. And you fry them. And one time we usually did holiday parties when I was in like middle school and high school, and we made latkes. And my mom stopped. One time we made them from scratch, but it was really hard because you had to you grind the potato, and then you have to like rinse out the water really, really hard before you can mash it together and put it on the fryer. So it was harder than we thought. So my mom's just like, we're just getting frozen latkes from now on, like no more. So if you haven't tried them, they're good. They're not my favorite Jewish food. My favorite Jewish food is challah, which is egg bread essentially. That's
I've
grated.
had that before. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I will eat a whole loaf of challah. Anyway, but and people usually eat it with their latkes with applesauce, which sounds gross, but it's actually like pretty good.
It's like sweet and savory. That's what I imagine. Sweet, tart, and savory, which actually I like that flavor combination. So.
And it's usually better because the latkes themselves can be dry sometimes. That is the latke. So I think that's all the Hanukkah points. We'll go over menorahs real quick, and then I'll take Lauren's questions if she has any, or any discussion points that she wants to bring up. But so the menorahs. So the menorahs are fun because basically you can have any type of menorah that you want to. So as long as the shamus, which is you light the shamus, which is with the tall candle, and then you use the shamus to light all the other 8 candles. I don't know. I didn't do it, but that's usually that's what the tall one is. If you ever look at a menorah, at a Hanukkah technically, but if you look at a menorah and then all the other ones, they just can't be on the same level as the Hanukkah. So you get like some fun like T-Rex menorahs, or like any IP ever menorahs. Like the traditional menorah that we had growing up was a Mickey Mouse menorah, and it was great. And it broke. I was really mad, but it had this whole scene of like it was a stage, and the candles were in the candle holders were in the top, and then the backstage had like Mickey playing the piano, and Minnie was on top of the piano, and Pluto was spinning a dreidel, and then Goofy and Donald were like playing instruments on the side. It was great. Maybe if I find a picture of it. And it was like, I think it was like 1930s or 40s. It wasn't modern day, not like modern Mickey, like the new Mickey Mouse shorts, but like it wasn't the most known Mickey, regular Mickey. It was a little bit before that stylistically. So I'd say like 30s to 40s era, like Minnie had the whole like Daisy and the blue skirt thing,
like so kind of like the pie eye era.
Yeah. So yeah, and then my mom would when we were kids, I never went to a Jewish learning school ever. So my mom would come in and teach the class about Hanukkah, which is funny because she's a Catholic and she converted to Judaism after I think when I was like 3 or 4 or something like that. So, but she's really into it now. She's probably the one who's most into it, ironically. So she does like Kabbalah and all that, which is you can Google it if you want to. But anyway, and she's probably the most like spiritual like one in the family, and everyone else is just like, it's fun, but like we'll celebrate stuff, but it's like it's very secular. But I think that's usually it. So usually for Hanukkah parties, you'll like do a prayer with the Hanukkah, and then you'll eat and you'll spin the dreidel, and then that's usually it, essentially.
Now,
so Lauren,
and then the 8 days, is it 8 days of gifts? That's what I was.
Yeah,
always
okay.
kinda
Oh, let me clarify that. That was a good point. So, first off, my first point that I wanted to say is that there never used to be gifts. We have gifts now because of Christmas. So, thanks, guys. So, usually we just light the Hanukkah menorah, but I personally like the Christmas thing because, like, if you don't plan Hanukkah right, then you get some crappy gifts like $5, a pencil, some socks, things like that. Versus Christmas, it's just like your brain explodes because even if you get socks, like it's not going to be the thing you focus on because you get like a brand new car or something like that. So,
one heck of a range if those are your kids.
But anyway, so again, you just have to plan Hanukkah right, and like I'm very into Christmas because I think it's very much like I've said this before, but in case you came late, Christmas is my favorite holiday, not for the religious reasons, but I like how like it's the more secular kind of like Christmas Carol vibe, where it's peace on earth, and I love the Santa Claus origin story, and I think it has more of a livelier spirit as far as just goodwill towards Hanukkah, because then, like, generally Hanukkah, it's not as important, and the only reason it's highlighted so much is because it's at the same time as Christmas. So that, and I think, I don't know, there's just like a nice good value as far as just being like trying to be a good person around the time versus Hanukkah, where it's just like thanks for that miracle, God, thanks, we'll eat some potatoes and have socks. So I think the non-Christian Christmas has a more wholesome like view of society, if that's what you want to call it, and then obviously the Christmas origins stuff, and it's like that's why I'm saying that's why I'm an advocate for like you can celebrate Christmas if you're not Christian, you can celebrate it for whatever you want. Traditionally it was a pagan holiday and the church adopted it, so Christmas can be anything, and I feel bad for people who don't get to celebrate Christmas, and they have to miss out from all the Christmas stuff, and it feels bad. Like, part of the reason why I did my bat mitzvah is my parents said we couldn't have we couldn't get a Christmas tree that year if I didn't do my bat mitzvah, and I'm like, well, you got me there. So I'm usually like hard Top Gun hardcore, like let's get the tree, like I'll listen to Christmas songs like throughout my working period during Christmas. Like I made my mom go get a gingerbread house, which is not, it was a Disney princess gingerbread house, but that's very me, so I'll take it. So yeah, I just love I love the origins and Rudolph, and we'll talk about Rudolph soon, I promise, but that's the end of my spiel. So Lauren, what question, spiel, Yiddish, Jewish episode. So what questions do you have, Lauren?
I feel like because the questions I didn't have, I kept like asking throughout the episode because it would be like, oh, that brought up something else that I was thinking about,
Okay.
I guess I don't, I'm trying to think. Oh, mostly because I'm a foodie. Are there? So you told about the latkes and stuff. But what other are there any other like holiday specific dishes that, even if your family hasn't done them, do you know that there are general dishes?
Not to my knowledge.
I kind of know there's like knishes and there's like, I know that's more of like a traditional Jewish food, but I didn't know if they were holiday specific.
The other holiday food that I'm thinking of is not Hanukkah specific. So there's matzah and matzo ball soup, but that's more technically Passover. And then there's
okay.
What is the I'm blinking.
The knish?
No, it's not the knish. It's a it's triangle.
Shoot. Trying
Okay. Well, anyway, it will come to me like after the episode is over. But anyway, so there's a triangle-shaped cookie, and that's for Purim, which is another holiday which I didn't talk about. But that's also
is it pronounced Hamantash?
Yeah, there it is, Hamantashen.
Okay.
So, and Hamantashens, you can fill them with like jelly or like some people do like apple or like sweetie things, but the best Hamantashen are the chocolatey kinds. Those are the only ones I'll usually eat. We can talk about origins of Purim some other time, but Purim is probably the funnest of the holidays. And it's the one where adults are advocated to drink lots of alcohol. So I've never seen that. We usually just have we usually would just have a Purim like carnival essentially, but I never went to like an adult Purim party where people were drinking. But anyway, like in more religious places.
So it's funny that I'm like looking at this for the Hamantash, and it says the Hamantashen are called basically translated. It says Hebrew for Haman's ears in reference to the defeated enemy's ears. So apparently there was this whole story behind those.
Oh well. It's not, I mean, it can be interpreted sometimes. So she's talking about the bad guy from the Purim story, which is called Haman. So he, usually the telling these days is he got a triangle hat, so that's why we eat the Hamantashen. I think that's probably a change from the ears because the ears are kind of morbid. And
I can only imagine because...
So I imagine let's be cannibalistic kids.
They call them like Haman pockets. I guess that's what they mostly are known as because of the pocket of jelly.
Yeah. So or chocolate. Make chocolate ones, but they never make chocolate ones because no one thinks of them. But anyway. But yeah, Purim's a much funner holiday generally, and that was like I just always think of the Family Guy joke where there's two Jews that are lifting that are moving rocks for the pyramids, and he's just like, us Jews are getting our bad times out of the way early. It's all smooth sailing from here. So it's historically it's a historic thing that Jews have been in the minority, and they have for forever, and then people pick on other people in the minority, and it's great, and thanks society. But
I guess
do you have any other? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I guess my next question would be, in terms of representation of. I mean, it could be, I guess, of Hanukkah specifically. How else do you think that should? Because there really should be more retellings of the story. Because there really aren't any besides, as far as I can tell,
like the
Rugrats one and
the couple of TV specials and 8 Crazy Nights.
Yeah, and even then, 8 Crazy Nights isn't a retelling of Hanukkah or anything. It revolves around Hanukkah, Hanukkah time of the year because, and it is kind of like they do kind of point out with the town that the characters live in 8 Crazy Nights, is that the Jewish population is also very small in that, where it's just like, and here we're here with all of our Jewish friends, and there's like a table of like 3 people sitting there, and like, yay. But it's yeah. But no, I guess it's be like, what would you like to see more of in terms of like, I guess, Hanukkah?
What would you do? Sorry, that's a bad joke. Did you get it?
No, I got it.
Okay, you didn't laugh, and I was like, oh, I didn't know it was that bad.
No,
anyway,
it was because I was finishing my thought, and then I heard it, I'm like,
Okay, but anyway, so I think it's similar just in any minority. Like the same thing it could be said as there's not a lot of Kwanzaa episodes. Like there's a Proud Family Kwanzaa episode, and there's a Rugrats Kwanzaa episode, and that's all I can think of off the top of my head. So it's just like, usually don't get a cast, usually get the token person that is the token thing, and usually token person has to talk about the token thing when there's an episode revolving around token thing. So I think people just don't really like, and it's also when you're competing with Christmas, which is kind of like, again, the spirit of Christmas and the spirit of like goodwill towards men is just overpowering. Between the two, people want to focus on that. Like, I'm thinking like Kim Possible they did an episode around Ron's bar mitzvah, or after Ron's bar mitzvah, where it revolved around that, but not specifically Hanukkah. And Kim mentions Hanukkah in the Christmas episode, but there's not really like a reference to it besides those couple of points, really. I don't know. But anyway, I think it's just kind of hard to justify a story around Hanukkah that is not like we're doing it ham-fistedly, where they have to have a minority character learning about something through their minority like holiday or whatever. Like, I think it would be a much better setting if like any characters like, you know, come in and there's like Hanukkah stuff and like there's some kind of plot element with Hanukkah stuff, and then they kind of learn about Hanukkah through what's going on in their setting versus just like one character having to tell the story or whatever. So I think it's hard for people to justify doing it well as trying not to force the actual story from, you know, just a certain perspective. And then the obvious thing is it's a little bit more risky comparatively to just doing your Christmas episode. And I imagine if a show is going to do something, especially with like Christmas specials going on and the re-airing of like just general Christmas content, they're at least going to do their Christmas episode first if they even like think about doing a Christmas, like a December themed holiday, unless you're Clone High, which is Snowflake Day. Bless Clone High. And then they might get to Hanukkah later, which is what Rugrats did. So
right.
But you know, minorities are hard, especially with like just the general atmosphere of like everything this year. So I hate this. I hate 2020. But that could be like the whole podcast. Okay, anything else, Lauren?
I think that pretty much covers it, at least for me for right now.
Okay. Let me think if there's. I think that's really it, because Hanukkah's a pretty chill holiday for the most part. If you want to learn about Hanukkah, you can probably pirate the Rugrats episode somewhere from something. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like in the third or fourth season, something like that. 8 Crazy Nights. If you're willing to sit through all the BS, literally, then and wait for the core of the story, great. If someone's working on that edit for the movie, then wait for that, hypothetically, and just watch that, because that will be like 10 times better. There's also like a Friends episode, which is bad because like the characters Ross and Monica are a brother and sister, and they're supposed to be Jewish, but they don't really ever mention on the show, which is weird. Especially
that's I kind of thought about that myself. I'm like, wait, aren't they Jewish? But then they're just like, oh, but let's do the Christmas thing, and I'm like thinking they're like not really going to even touch on, I don't know, their traditions, because they don't talk about much about their religion on the show.
Yeah, that's just a general complaint though. Is that Friends doesn't really do Jew that well. I don't know why. Maybe the Manhattan setting, where people are just like, there's a lot of Jews in Manhattan for people who are for people who are playing at home. So maybe there wasn't as much of a need like to talk about it, because it was more exposed in the culture than just like, oh, we put the menorah up because culture's next to the huge Christmas tree. So I don't know. Let me just look on my list to see if there's anything else, any other specials that I'm not thinking of. Oh, duh, I'm an idiot. So I haven't gotten there yet. That's probably why I didn't think about it. But Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the main character is Jewish. So she has a Hanukkah song, and I haven't gotten to the Hanukkah special because I'm only on season 1. But they also, before this, they have a Jap battle, which is a rap battle, but Jap is not a slang term for Japanese. It's Jewish American princess. So usually Jewish girls that come from relatively well-off households that get a lot of things that they want. So, yeah. So then they have a song. They have a bar mitzvah song. So I'm sure there's stuff that you can pick out from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and then like the couple of Saturday Night Live sketches. But that's really it. Like,
now that I think about it, another good show to check out, and I'm still working my way through it, is The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Lead is Jewish.
Oh yeah. That's a huge Jewish show.
And it's like
hard.
Amazon Studios' biggest hit right now. So
Yeah.
I mean, they really push for Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is actually a great show, and
Yeah.
I just haven't been able to finish it yet. But it so far so good.
Yeah, it's very good, very Jewish. All the Jewish stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can end on. I guess if you guys have any more questions after the show, you can go on the fan server and ask me stuff, and I might answer it if I feel like it. But I hope that you did your own research before you ask me, like, how do you spell Hanukkah? And I'm just like, there's technically multiple ways to spell Hanukkah. There's no right way. So you can spell it with an H or a CH or whatever. There's no right way. It's confusing to me too. But yeah, I think we're good. If you're good, Lauren?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're all Jewed out?
I've gotten my education.
Okay. So we'll do our closing stuff. So if you're new to the show, I don't know why you're watching the Hanukkah special first, but welcome to the podcast. As usual, subscribe to the main channel on YouTube, and press the notification bell, because that's important, because we're desperately trying to increase and get people used to non-horse stuff, which is a thing that has been a hard adjustment-wise and view-wise, and we just want people to watch the videos, and every like and comment counts. I love you. And then the podcast is available on all the podcast places, and so then on YouTube.
Stream us pretty much anywhere. iTunes, SoundCloud. Are we on Spotify? No.
Yeah, we're on Spotify.
Oh, we are? Okay, just making sure. I was like trying to remember.
I don't know.
We go through a lot of avenues, and then of course the episodes go up on YouTube as well. So I mean, we try to touch a lot of bases.
Yeah. So, and by now we're probably using the Christmas we are using the Christmas overlay. So yay, you looked at Christmas while you listened about Hanukkah. Yay, you did it. So
getting that holiday spirit.
And then if you're not new to watching the show, like, please tell a friend, at least about the main channel. I'm not as concerned about the I like doing the podcast too. Like, I don't want to throw Lauren under the bus, but the podcast is like nice if people like are weird about podcasts. They either listen to them or they don't. But like YouTube videos, they're just like, oh, I can consume a YouTube video, but podcasts are boring. And I'm just like, but no, we talk about important things like art. Don't you care about the arts? So
Earth without art is just eh.
I haven't heard that joke before. That's a good joke. And then I'll say this too. People don't really realize this, I guess, but we accept fan art and put fan art at the end of the outros of the main videos now. So you don't have to draw fan art, but if you want to draw fan art and want to have it in the video, then you can draw fan art, and the email address is ilovefanartalot@gmail.com, and send it there, and then we'll put it in the video, regardless of quality, as long as it's like safe and there's not any weird stuff in the picture, please. It has to be fan art. It just can't be any fan art, but we want to give back to you, the people. But yeah, and then join the fan server if you like Discord servers. Like, I don't know, it's hard to get those things active, but if you like that thing, it's somewhere. It's on the about page, I think, of the main channel. It's there. Okay. So we'll see you next week. We'll be talking about, I'm not sure yet, because I'm not sure what order these are going to be released in. But we'll talk more about...
we have some stuff queued up.
Yeah, we got some things that people will like about Christmas, and sometimes it's not about Christmas, and, you know...
But we will probably have holiday vibes all around.
Yeah. So, thanks for coming. Happy holidays. We'll do Happy Hanukkah for now, and then we can do Merry Christmas at the Christmas one. So have a Happy Hanukkah. Hope be good for Captain Hanukkah so you can get your latkes. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.